Megan.
All right, so welcome everybody. And we have Tanya Ryder from NAMI National with us today. She's the director of NAMI Jedi, and I love that acronym. It stands for Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And she's going to discuss updates to two very important programs that have existed for a while, but are being completely redesigned. So she's joining us today, and we hope after her presentation on that to kind of open up kind of a forum on what we would like is to have all of our affiliates throughout NAMI, Missouri, to start kind of looking at how can you bring Jedi to your local community, and what does that look like for you, and what do we mean when we talk about that? So Tanya, why don't you go ahead and go?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say today, July 1st, happy BB Moore Campbell Minority Mental Health Month. And just to kind of give everyone an update, you should be receiving an email that says, that Sharing Hope is now available. On NamiNet, you can go, and also a Dropbox link was sent. So really excited about that because it's been a labor of love made with, planned with individuals from within the communities, individuals with lived experience. So this is very kind of homegrown, grassroots, really talking to the community about topics and just conversations that are very much needed. So I encourage you to please check it out. The Dropbox link, if you want, I can actually put that also in the chat. Maybe after I'm talking, I'm not good at multitasking, and then I'll get like sidetracked. So you don't want that. So, but I'm happy to share that so that you get a sense of the videos. There one on youth and mental wellness. It's called How Do You Heal? Another one is Community Leaders in Mental Wellness, The Art of Healing. And then we have Black Families and Mental Wellness, Smiling on Our Journey. So each of them is about between 9 and 11 minutes long, and there's a facilitation guide. And the hope is that individuals will watch these videos and then want to reach out to your local NAMI to participate in what we call a Sharing Hope community conversation. So the facilitation guides are meant to be just guides. You don't necessarily have to use them or word by word or anything like that. I do want to say that Sharing Hope is not a program or a curriculum. It's a community outreach and engagement tool. Really, we're looking to be able to go out to communities to really engage them and start building that trust, one that has not really been there in the past with NAMI, right, for communities of color. This is talking about mental wellness and not illness. This is talking about healing and connection. And really, it's the power of peer support and just relying on those conversations to be able to unpack feelings, to explore issues that really should be explored with others. It's really through telling our stories and having those conversations that individuals are able to heal and really connect. So the idea also is that as a result of these community conversations that you would have, you would invite folks to be a part of a peer support group, creating a Sharing Hope peer support group. So a space for individuals to continue this conversation, to be a part of a community. One of the other recommendations is to start building those relationships with community-based organizations and faith organizations if you haven't already been doing that, and being able to reach out and collaborate and work on events together and be able to connect one another when necessary, because part of it is a whole wraparound services, kind of community resilience model that we really want to have present. If you have someone coming to you and they're experiencing anxiety or depression, and if you're able to kind of dig a little deeper, you may find out that they are experiencing housing instability, food insecurity, all these different things. And to be able to be connected to an organization, a community-based organization or a faith organization to say, hey, you can go here for that need, or vice versa. For communities of color, faith leaders are our first responders. So if someone goes to a pastor or a priest or a rabbi, and they're saying, hey, I need help with certain things, and they said, hey, we can help you with your housing, situation, we can provide a stipend or something, but for your kind of mental health struggles, I'm going to connect you to Amy at NAMI, Missouri, and you can, talk to her about what is available, in terms of peer support groups and other programs. So really, that's kind of the idea. Is this is just going out there, engaging folks, making those connections. That's really where you need to start. It's about relational connections and not transactional. And the only way to do that is to start having those one-on-one conversations, getting people together and exploring what that looks like. So these are meant to be tools, kind of like getting started on a recipe, where we're not giving you something canned. We're giving you, here you go, here's to get started, here's some ingredients, some ideas, and then you decide based on your community, what other ingredients you have, what does your community need? And having the latitude to do that, we want to empower you, we want to support you in those efforts. So we will be building out additional resources along the way. This was just kind of getting started on that path. So again, for Sharing Hope, those resources are completed. For Compartiendo Esperanza, those will be ready later this month. Internally around July 15th, but externally launching July 22nd. However, those will also include guides in Spanish. The videos will also have subtitles. So when someone is speaking English, it'll be in Spanish and vice versa, because we have found there are kind of intergenerationally, someone can be Hispanic, Latinx, they may not know the language, but they're watching this with their abuelita or their tia who doesn't speak English or something. And so they want to be able to watch things together. And so definitely to make that more culturally competent and culturally sensitive. So that is really kind of like the beginning of this. We're looking to expand Sharing Hope for the BIPOC community. So in the past, Sharing Hope has been for the Black community, and then Compartiendo Esperanza has been for the Hispanic, Latinx. But we're saying, hey, we have Native American, AAPI, LGBTQ, and we want to expand that. And we will be doing that. It will take some time, but we're really looking to involve everyone in these conversations. And so we may be adding other resources that will show a combination across the board of different communities. The important thing is that we just want to highlight the importance of having these conversations, the importance of cultural humility in all of this, not just cultural competence, but the cultural humility component of it. So that is really kind of, in a nutshell, what we're doing for Sharing Hope and Compartiendo Esperanza. In terms of JEDI, really the focus on equity. And we've heard DEI so much, and that's one of the reasons why we're kind of like, we don't want to just say, hey, we have a DEI department. DEI has become somewhat of a buzzword. And we're, it's much more than that. And so when you're looking at what that means, it's ultimately a sense of belonging. We want people to feel like they can bring their full self, their authentic self, and feel like they actually belong, not just like, okay, diversity, check, we got all the kind of compliance, but that we value what you bring. And, we want people to be open about who they are. And so we really look through that lens of equity in every way, health equity, and in every aspect. And as a result of doing equity and belonging, the justice piece is going to happen. That is a part of that. And so that is something really that we're committed to. Anti-racism initiatives that we're working on internally, NAMI National, that will be also kind of rolling out with guidance on, what what you should be doing within your organization, things to look at, things to talk about. So these are all difficult, courageous conversations, I'd like to say, that we're looking to lead, and to encourage and to empower all of you to have those conversations within your teams, because it's really important, and we recognize that part of the work that we do for NAMI, our mission is to heal, to heal others, to promote wellness, but we also have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves internally within our teams, because we're out there doing so much work. Sometimes we lose sight of, hey, are we having these conversations within our team? How are we doing? Are we fostering a sense of belonging? That type of thing. So I would say, if you haven't seen the virtual town hall that happened May 27th, please do so, because that talks a lot about Sherman, our Chief Strategy and Operations Officer, who I report to. He talked about JEDI, the focus, and the importance of it, the commitment the NAMI National has. We're having a cultural competency assessment, baseline assessment being done by an outside consultant, starting off with all the EDs of the state organizations. And then from those interviews, a survey will come out of that, and then that will go out to others. So this is something that we don't take lightly. It's very important, and we're committed to this. And it's not easy work, but it's work that needs to be done. And it's certainly work that will promote healing everywhere, internally, externally. Essentially, these are the things that we really need to be focusing on. If you don't have trust, or that psychological safety and that sense of belonging, you can't have relational connections. And if you don't have relational connections, you can't have those transformational connections that really allow us to do the work that we do for the populations that we serve. So I don't know, I think I'm speaking enough. I think I'm talking too much. So does anyone have any questions?
Well, I'll go ahead and I'll start us off. I really liked what you said there about transactional relationship or versus really. I can't remember now what you said. But we were going for things that weren't transactional. What was? Can you describe a little bit more about what the what that looks like? So a lot of times, when whether it's the queer community or the people of color community, we tokenism is a real thing, right? And so how do we have those kinds of relationships? How do we build those?
Well, a lot of the feedback that I received from just grassroots level, from individuals in the community, it's been that the sense of trust has not been there, because people feel like you said, tokenized in the way also that, hey, we need numbers, we need data to say that we served this population. And then it becomes kind of like compliance, like check the box, as opposed to saying, hey, can you be a part of this discussion? We're really looking to see how can we improve services, or how can we help you? What are the things that you're looking for that we can support you? And that becomes a conversation of asking the individuals that we're trying to serve what they're looking for, or asking their feedback on certain things, not just coming up with what we think individuals need, but really involving them from the beginning. And not just saying, hey, can you fill this out? Like, I want to make sure, that you're in my report that I'm going to do, because people, they know that, they pick up on that. And then they get that sense of like, you don't really care about me. You just want to say that I'm one of your numbers because you need that for your funding. So it's really about just building those one-on-one relationships and including folks in the very beginning. And even if you say, hey, we're going to have a discussion, and this is where I say connecting with the community is really important, because if people don't know you, they don't know NAMI, but you've made a connection with another organization, with a faith organization, especially, you're right there, you're building that trust, because there's like, well, hey, if they're going to be doing this in my church with my pastor, then I can open up myself a little bit and trust, because there's that credibility there, right? So there's no magic formula except to say, have those conversations, be authentic about things, and be open to feedback, even if it's not the best feedback. Just say, hey, we want to do better. Can you help us? And people will talk and they'll feel, valued, and they'll feel like they'll be like, wow, you really care. You're asking us. And things don't have to be perfect. Let me tell you, people don't, if you don't have something perfect, it's okay. They just, as long as they're a part of it and you're saying we're trying and we're getting better, you're trying to get better, people know and they value that, the intent and the fact that you care enough to even ask them. So does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Okay, sure.
I have a question. One, I'm very excited about these resources for a number of reasons. One is we have a very large kind of Spanish speaking population in our area. We live in a rural Missouri, but we also have a very large Congolese population. And I'm going to be working with our Truman State University and the DEI office there to help train peer mentors. So I'm kind of very excited about this. But towards that, I do have kind of an access question. Are the facilitation guides for sharing hope available in any other languages, and the transcripts kind of the videos available in any other languages? Mostly I'm looking at for French.
Yeah, so actually we only have, for Compartiendo Esperanza, the facilitation guides will be in Spanish because it's the language of, but right now we do not, because for the Black community and then for the, Hispanic Latinx community. So that's all we have right now. As we're expanding, for example, to AAPI, we'll need to see how, there are many different, languages that, we kind of have to look at what can be done, what's possible. I don't foresee a translation in French anytime soon to be, but that's definitely something to, to be thinking about, that, what does that look like in communities? Because a lot of times too, when things are translated, they're not necessarily culturally competent, and a lot, and there has to go, there's more into the translation. So we have to be really careful about just translating a document and saying, well, this is going to resonate with this community, because it requires more than that. So, but yeah, thank you for that question. And definitely I'll be thinking about, what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because I could probably get somebody in the community here to do it. But I was just curious if it was already done, then I would just have them take a look at what was done, and kind of make any revisions there.
Yeah.
Another question that I had is, you mentioned the possibility of starting sharing hope kind of peer support groups. And in that model, are you thinking something more formal, like kind of the peer, like the family and recovery connection support groups that we already have, but they're going to have a particular kind of slant to them? Or are you thinking something less formal, or is there something coming down the pipe?
Good question. So let me give you an example. Some other NAMIs have kind of, started different groups. For example, NAMI NYC Metro started Black Minds Matter. So it was really as a response to the needs of the community. And so, for example, that group was only for individuals that identified as Black, with lived experience, and that really understood that this group was really there to talk about racial trauma, to talk about these issues that maybe not everybody would necessarily, want to talk about. So it was very open about, this is what we're doing. We're here, we're this community to help support each other in this. And so other NAMIs have kind of, added different pieces and done things like that. We are in the process of figuring out will it be a different type, like something, different? We're trying to figure out. What we're encouraging folks right now is to make space for, these communities in whatever way you currently have your configuration, or be thinking about what you can do. We don't have a Sharing Hope, like official new peer support group model. Although I would love to really make some kind of cultural adaptations and make that more formal, but that, that will be, kind of a process. But we do want to encourage folks to be thinking, how can I add to my, the peer support groups that we currently have? Do we have a facilitator who, someone who identifies as Black and with lived experience? And making sure that this space is only for individuals that identify as Black, because a lot of times, a lot of the feedback I received was that individuals don't feel like they can share certain things when there are other communities, and not to say that people don't, want to connect as, just human beings, but there are certain topics or certain things where you want to be completely open. And so we really need to reserve that space. So that is in the works. I will definitely keep everyone kind of posted on what that looks like. The Dropbox for Sharing Hope has everything that we have at this point. Sorry, I hear some feedback somewhere. So in the Dropbox, you'll see I kind of put a getting started video just to give people an overview on how to get started. I'm going to be adding more videos, a video on the kind of the peer support group, ideas and how to get that started. And also community outreach and engagement, talking about certain strategies, how to reach out. So those are going to be added in the next week or so. But this is kind of like a work in progress. So that's why I ask folks, hey, if you have suggestions, you see something that you need, please let me know so that my team and I can work on it, because inevitably there's not, there's stuff, there's still more, right? There's always going to be more to be done. And we want to make sure that we respond to your needs, to the needs of the community. So it's, I kind of see this as a partnership in that regard.
Thank you for putting that in the chat. So there are some folks from NAMI St. Louis on this call, and they have done a really excellent job with just like in the last magazine. Was it Boston? Is that the NAMI affiliate who like they completely changed the way that they did everything, in part from the COVID pandemic, and they approached all kinds of groups in their community and partnered with them with humility instead of, I know what you need, here's some help. What would you like? So if you guys have not read that article, I highly suggest that you read it. And I believe it was in the town hall. Gabriel did put that link in the chat, and we will have those available as resources too for you after. And you can see the messages there in the chat. NAMI Missouri would like all of our affiliates and leaders and volunteers to begin having this conversation. So one of the things that we did as staff is we did, and Dawn, you might have to help me remember correctly, but there was a series of implicit bias trainings that we looked at, and kind of those to me were incredibly eye-opening, just things I would never have considered because of my lived experience, right? So just kind of looking at that and expanding your worldview and thinking about what are the needs of my community? Who are the leaders in my community, and how can I connect? And we are trying to bring programs like NAMI FaithNet, for example, that like what Tanya was sharing. Those are places that you can build those partnerships. And what does that look like, and how is that done with humility? And I'm happy to share. And again, I'm not good with
like getting stuff while we're meeting and putting it in the chat, but I will send you, Amy, follow-up kind of resources on cultural humility that were referenced in the town hall as well, but just in general, so you get a sense of what that means, because that's another term. People are like, well, what does that mean exactly? You know, so I will definitely follow up with those. I'll send those to Amy and then she can share with you. But also just to let you know that we are looking at cultural humility training and implicit bias training and figuring out what that looks like for, you know, the Alliance. We are trying to figure out, we're kind of, I don't want to say we're piloting, we're putting together and we're going to try to pilot, but we want to get a sense of what is a good, a resource that we can provide that can be available to the Alliance, you know, wide, to be able to watch within your teams to at least get started in that direction. And we're looking on ways of kind of rolling that out, but there's, you know, there are a lot of things we're trying to do, but that's one of them. And I do want to say it's really important, and we encourage teams to move forward and educate yourselves and get started on these conversations. It's really important. So I'm happy to hear, Amy, that, and I know you shared that with me before, but I commend that, because that's an important first step as we're moving towards anything DEI. When I think of DEI, I think of belonging. That's it, belonging and psychological safety and trust. And if you have that, then you have a strong team. If you're missing any of that, you can do some work. You know, I've seen teams, you know, it just in general, you can have teams that operate on a transactional level, and you'll get work done, but you don't have that synergy. You don't have that like the way you can work when you're really in tune and you feel comfortable. Just think about when you get invited, like, you know, I think about Zoom calls or things that I've been in the past. You know, if I don't really know the people or I don't really trust them, I've had a bad experience. Do you think I'm gonna like want to talk or anything? I'm just gonna like keep quiet. You know, I'm not gonna bring my full self. I'm gonna be like, I don't know if I say something, will they think, you know? So all that is really difficult. That really affects people, and it takes away from their emotional, you know, bandwidth and their energy. So if you're working on a team that's having these types of issues, it's going to affect you. You know, it's going to drain you. And that's all part of your self-care. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself in that way. So that's something that's really, really important. You got to get your home in order before you can go out and help everyone else. I always say, like, you have to have a strong team. You know, and I've said this, we have to heal at home before we can go out and heal the world. That's really important.
I have a question. And one thing I've noticed since I've been in the mental health system, and that's been since the 90s, there's a systemic discrimination between white and black facilities that help people with a mental illness. I've been in private facilities and there are no blacks, but I've been in state facilities or public facilities that's all they serve, maybe because that's all they can afford. But I would like to see something set up so that there's more equality for minorities, especially black people and Spanish people, who aren't getting or can't get that help they need because of their either economic problems or just society.
Yes, thank you. Well, this goes to the equity. This is the health equity, mental health equity, and this is something that NAMI National on a policy level, our policy team is working on that type of legislation and all those things that pertain to that. That's a systems level problem that we've had for a long time, and it's going to take some time to address that. But I mean, it's very true, and this is why there's that justice piece of JEDI, because this is an equity issue that can no longer be overlooked. That we must do something now, because these individuals deserve this. This is their right. So that's the justice piece. So these are all issues and concerns that we are aware of and that we're working towards. In fact, NAMI is a part of a unified vision is the document that they came up, and it's a consortium of other mental health organizations like Mental Health America, the Wellbeing Trust, now the National Council of Mental Wellbeing. They've changed their name from National Council of Behavioral Health. And so we're all figuring out, how can we come together? What can we do? This is long overdue, and it's a process. And I wish we could say that it's something that we could change, right away, but it's not. And so what we're trying to do, and the work that I'm doing in terms of the grassroots level here with the, just empowering our NAMIs to be able to serve the communities that are having difficulties, that are feeling really disenfranchised or marginalized. And that's why, having the relationships with your community-based organizations to be able to assist those folks that need that extra help. And this is where I talk about kind of the wraparound services type of community. I think of community resilience, because we're here to heal as a community. It's not, NAMI can't do everything alone, right? Your NAMI can't. And so if we look at it from a perspective that we have individuals that don't have access, that are not being served in the way they need to, what else can we do? What other avenues, like what other paths can we show them how to get the help that they need? Okay, I think, Kevin, if you're speaking, it's on mute. You're on mute. Oh.
It's just economic discrimination. Is the help available for a Black person to go to or a Spanish person to go to a public or private hospital? Are they given that choice, or are they just told they have to go to the state institution to get the help? There's no access between the two.
Yeah, so I'm not really the person to ask in terms of getting into kind of the details of all this. So I'm sorry, I can't really, I'm not sure I can respond to your question in the way that you're looking for me to respond, except to say that is a real problem. And that, again, the folks that are on the policy level in terms of dealing with these systemic issues are definitely aware of that. And again, collectively, NAMI with other mental health organizations are working to find solutions and figure out how we can tackle these issues. So.
Okay.
And just to chime in, because just as far as the way this works here in Missouri, right, is a big part of that comes down to, we have not had mental health parity. And that law was, as we talked about last month, that was just passed in this state. So now that mental health issues will start having and being treated the same way that physical health issues are, I think we'll see a lessening of that. By no means is that going to solve all the problems, but I think it is definitely a big step forward from where we have been.
Yeah, thank you.
I think in a lot of the communities that we're talking about, there's also the issue of the stigma that we're still battling against. I know that, speaking as an African-American male, that's been a major issue in the Black community. And I can speak from experience with that. So I think that a lot of it, there's treatment available. There also has to be the willingness to accept the treatment and be okay getting that treatment without feeling like, being stereotyped as weak or something like that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That's very true. And part of the, when you see Sharing Hope, the videos and the guides, and even the language that we're using, we have it as Sharing Hope, mental wellness in the Black community. So we're talking about wellness. We're really basing things on the idea of, Sam says, 8 dimensions of wellness, and how we are a person holistically, and there's different parts of it. And, kind of integrating FaithNet. faith and spirituality is a part of our wellness, right? So if we're able to engage in conversations with the community about how are you doing, how's your well-being, your wellness, you're able to start developing that kind of trust with those conversations, and you can kind of delve a little deeper and talk about challenges with some mental health issues. And it's not as stigmatizing as saying, hey, do you want to talk about your mental illness, or like, hey, you have those symptoms. Oh, you might have that doesn't work for our communities. I am a Latina with lived experience, trauma survivor. And I know growing up, we didn't talk about things. And it was like our culture, because my parents were immigrants, and, it's kind of like, suck it up, buttercup, you do what you have to do and it's okay. And let's go see the priest and pray more and all that. And it was unheard of to be able to talk about those things. And now we're talking about, it's important that we discuss these issues, that we unpack struggles and the impact of trauma. And we've all been through something at this point with the pandemic, whether or not you had before, but that's something that affects us. And so to be able to talk openly about it is huge. And so for communities of color, especially, we want to approach it from wellness, how, and be able to talk about these issues without feeling embarrassed or, and that's why we encourage these conversations with faith leaders and other community leaders to be open about it, because when they lead that discussion, then it's like, oh, wow, okay. So you'll see in the Sharing Hope, the community leaders video, you'll see the conversations. It's with a pastor, a clinician, and then like a peer support specialist having this conversation about these issues. And they touch on all these different things, all these different topics. So it's important to have these conversations for people to start feeling comfortable. People don't necessarily just want statistics and information, and this is, like, these are the symptoms, this might be your illness, it's okay, other people have this illness. Well, that doesn't help me want to talk about it, right? And so it's, again, that's where the relational piece is, where you want to develop that rapport, that relationship, talking about your overall well-being as a human being, because we are a human being, whether or not we have a mental health condition, we are not our mental health condition. That's just a part of who we are, right? So, I say my name, I'm Tanya, and I live with bipolar disorder, or what's been diagnosed as bipolar disorder. I don't say I am, I am bipolar, that's not, no, I'm Tanya first. I'm a Latina, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. And I happen to have that. And that's okay, but I'm living with it. And I'm sharing that with folks to say, you have ways of healing. It's the peer support is the strongest, most powerful thing. Being able to unpack your experience with someone else who can then share, I've been through something similar. And you share ideas on your wellness. What do you do for your wellness? These are the conversations. What do you do for your self-care? What do you do when you're feeling anxious in this way? And that's an opportunity for communities of color to come together and say, hey, this is what we need to do. We need to get together. We see the importance of food, poetry, art, all these things. That's where people find healing. So that's where we need to cultivate that. So, thank you for bringing that up, Jason. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Well, I think let's go ahead and end the recording for now.
Okay.
But thank you very much for everybody participating, and
Yeah.
we'll see y'all next month.